We're talking to the executive producer of NowThis News, Sarah Frank. Sarah, thank you for talking to me. That was a great speech, by the way. I wished you had more time because I wished you would elaborate, and I had more questions. Hopefully, specific questions. Hopefully, I'll get the time to ask them later. What I want to know is, first of all, why do you think these conferences are important? If they are, do they really make a difference? Because there seems to be a lot of people on their phones and tweeting pictures. Do you think they actually get good information? Does it make a change?
I definitely think conferences like this are really important. First of all, because, as you said, a lot of people are on their phones, and I think that's sort of the point of it. Whereas at some events or conferences, that would seem rude. But in reality here, people are on their phones because they're actually interested in what they're seeing in real life, and they're trying to get that out to their networks. So I think that's important, and it's also just really interesting to bring together a bunch of people who would normally never be in the same room together and get to connect and share ideas and concepts. And I think sometimes you don't always see the immediate impact of that, but over time, especially in media, real life meetings, conferences, things like this where you share ideas do have a really great impact.
Okay, one of the things you talked about, and one of the things you do, which I love, is you take trends and you use them in order to speak about important political, economical, and social issues. I think that's great, but does it come a time where we have to choose these trends? Because not all trends are good trends. Some trends are putting people in danger, or I don't know, the Kylie Jenner lip challenge. That was stupid. That people hurt themselves. So where's the line? What kind of trends do we use to promote issues, to promote talking about issues, and what kind we don't? Because Hillary Clinton using Vine, saying she's chilling, is kind of ridiculous, but it goes viral. Where does it stop? Because I'm looking forward to the next president of the United States, hopefully Bernie Sanders. I'm looking forward to him playing ridiculous challenges with YouTubers, and I'm asking myself, where does it end?
Yeah, I definitely think we're in a very experimental stage in media, both as media makers and content creators, but also just the whole world, right? Like, it is crazy that our President Obama, takes questions from YouTube makeup artists, and the presidential candidates are on Snapchat. Like, that never seemed possible even 2 years ago. So everyone's in experimental phase. As you pointed out, that can go too far. I'm really excited about where it is now. When we think about what we want to cover, we always focus on what's relevant to our audience, right? And because our content creators are all young, we are our audience. We think about what's relevant to us. What are we going to talk about at the bar later, right?
Excuse me, I have a follow-up question here. Do you use these trends to give your audience what they want, or do you use these trends to trick your audience, kind of in a good way, into wanting the stuff you want them to learn about?
You know, honestly, I think it's a little bit of both, right? So we, as content creators, try to find the media and stories that we're responding to, because as we were talking about, emotion is what works on social. So we think about what we respond to. If you're talking about the Kylie Jenner lip challenge, most people reacted to that with ridiculousness. So that was how we approached that. Like, there's this ridiculous thing teenagers are doing, and here's why they're doing it. We didn't promote it in a way that was like, you have to get in on this.
It's cool, yeah.
Crazy trend. So we kind of try to have an editorial voice that sounds like our users, but also speaks to them on a level that isn't just kind of pushing them in the direction of all of this, clickbait or trend. What we try to say is we want to give you something interesting or exciting to talk about with your friends, and sometimes that will be pointing out a trend that's going on just so you have something interesting to talk about, and we know you can develop your own opinion about it. So we try to allow that.
The way these things happen in the United States is amazing to me, because you're like in 2016 and we're like still in 2005. So I think we will get there at some point, and honestly, I'm afraid the way it will of the way it will manifest here, because we usually it degrades. It degrades a lot. I wanted to ask you, you personally, what is the most important thing to you? You have to have a priority. Is it making money and being successful? Is it informing people, or is it actually educating your audience?
Yeah, well, so there's definitely people at my company where their number one goal is making us money. And I'm really lucky that I get to focus on the editorial and kind of building an audience. And what's really important to me and exciting to me and a lot of people that I work with is we get to speak to an audience that most traditional media outlets in the States ignore. It's an underserved community, right? And I think you have that here too. People who have never had a deep connection with news or media, and that's my biggest goal, is reaching them and giving them interesting and fun and entertaining things to talk about, but also substantial issues that matter to them.
Since now this started, do you think the way people perceive information or consume information has changed?
Oh yeah, I mean,
And what role did you play in that?
right. So we're a 3-year-old company.
I know.
But
I'm a big fan, actually.
But a lot has changed just in the last year, I think, for everyone. So we were some of the earliest media companies putting a lot of video on Facebook in sort of that audio off environment. A lot of larger media companies just put traditional web video up on Facebook, and it doesn't quite fit. You have to put your headphones in. And so I think we're certainly the leaders in understanding the behaviors around each of these platforms and giving content that really fit. So we found a way to make it really easy to watch video on Facebook. I've been a video maker for over 10 years, and up until recently, I would always send my friends videos that I'd worked on during work hours, and they would say, I can't watch it, I don't have headphones, right?
Okay.
You know, and that was just my own stuff I was sharing, and now we've created a type of content that is news and information. We made it visual, we made it really easy. I think that's the most important thing, is young people want stuff to be simple. They don't want to be overcomplicated.
Okay, the last question is, let's assume the media itself changes. Will it help change the actual things? Because what we're trying to do, what I myself try to do as a journalist, is to get to them, make them listen to me, and to make them hear the people. Do you think countries like ours have a chance by using social media and tools like this to get to the big people in power, to get them to listen?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, we all know, after Arab Spring and the current election in the US, we know that social media is very, very powerful. And what I think media companies need to think about is maybe focusing more on how the users use it and how you can speak to them, rather than an agenda you're trying to create, or trying to just think about the result, because the change will happen, but it might not happen in the exact way that you think it will. I think a lot of what you have
What do you mean?
We can't really anticipate how social will change in the next year, and how social media and how news and media will change. Just like we couldn't have anticipated presidential candidates using Snapchat. So I think sometimes if you go in with too focused and too specific of a result that you want, you sometimes miss opportunities, natural opportunities to just kind of learn and experiment. So I think it's about keeping an open mind, and it's about listening to your audience just as much as it is about giving them information. Let them give information back to you.
Okay, so that was the last question, but I have another one. Do you think that these issues are getting to people? Because it seems like a lot of people are just having fun. We're laughing, we're sharing the video, and we had fun and we forgot about it.
You know, I think that's been a concern of ours and a challenge of ours as well, where we've seen a lot of response on this.
You get views, but it doesn't actually...
Yeah, but I think what we're learning is we're watching our audience grow and learn about an issue. So when we cover an issue multiple times, for example, the refugee crisis, that was an issue that when it started, or when we started covering it, we were really concerned it wouldn't really work on Facebook. It's so sad, it's so massive, it's complex. But we started covering it, and we started responding to our commenters, our users' questions. We started covering the parts of the story that they were curious about. We covered it consistently, and now we have an audience that understands a lot of the complex issues around this topic. So perhaps it's not changing you know, at a high government level, but it's informing a young audience.
So
that
it
that
can
will,
work. You just have to talk to them, and you
just
have
have to
to
talk
be
to them.
responsive to the feedback.
Yeah, and you have to ask them, what do you want to know about? It's not just about journalists saying, this is what you should know about.
Okay.
It's a give and take, right? It's not just giving people the candy, but it's also not just giving them vegetables either. You have to figure out a way to do
so
both.
it's what do you want to know about, then they answer, and you say, okay, here's what you want to know about, then probably you should know this as well.
Yeah,
right?
and you can also, yeah, exactly. You can say, oh, but also this, because if you get them interested, you can always give them a little more, but you can't force feed people.
That's a good idea. Thank you so much for
Thank
talking
you
to
so
me. And
much.
thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Thank you.